Hey Dragon Slayers, today's video is about the rest of my extended fasting attempts, part 2, from Jimmy Moore. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel out. Let's get started. So although his blood sugar and blood ketone levels went up and down because he had to pause the fast occasionally, Jimmy lost 22.4 pounds still and kept off 14 of it in the month that followed. And what about those DEXA scan results? Now, this was what was truly fascinating. The scan showed he lost 10 pounds of body fat and another 10 pounds of what is identified as lean tissue, generally interpreted as muscle. All of this supposed muscle loss happened in the trunk area. He actually gained muscle in his arms and legs. When he discussed the results with Dr. Fung, he noticed that the DEXA scan can mistake fat loss in organ tissues for muscle loss. In other words, he most likely had not lost muscle, but rather fat around his internal organs, which is a very good thing. So Jimmy returned to his low-carb, ketogenic way of eating for a couple of weeks and had the DEXA scan run again. So what happened to that lean tissue that it showed that he lost during the fast? Every single pound of that so-called muscle loss was completely gone, and he was back to the level he was at prior to the fast. It just goes to show that those measurements are merely a tool and should never lead to false assumptions. The fact is, Jimmy didn't lose any muscle during his 28 days of fasting, and that's pretty remarkable. It goes against everything commonly believed about the side effects of fasting. Dr. Fun discusses the myth that fasting causes muscle loss in more detail later on in his book. Conclusion: Jimmy is a fasting fan. He's still tweaking his own personal fasting protocol, taking into account that he probably needs longer fasts to receive the most benefits. And as he's learned, it is incredibly important for Jimmy to try not to fast during stressful times, even when it's happy stress. Traveling makes longer term fasts a no-go for Jimmy. Although he will easily do an intermittent fast if the flight is under 4 hours. And so do any of the ordinary activities, such as writing books or attending conferences. This is a great lesson that Jimmy has learned from his fasting escapades. If you are now inspired to give fasting a try for yourself, Jimmy wants to encourage you to just do it. Even if you begin by simply skipping lunch, you can work your way up to fasting for a few days in a row, and the benefits will be tremendous. Dr. Fong will talk about more details of the benefits in later chapters. But suffice it to say, if you're struggling with obesity or type 2 diabetes, fasting can have an incredible effect on weight and blood sugar. Jimmy's seen it with his own eyes, even when he was skeptical about fasting. Jimmy understands that it can be a real challenge not to eat for a period of time. It's especially tough because in our modern world, food is instantly available on every single street corner. But what if you decide to buck the trend and abstain from eating even for a short period of time and see how you do? Forget about what you think might happen. Instead, embrace the experience to see what does happen. Jimmy's not going to tell you that it will solve all of your weight and health issues. It's certainly not a cure-all. But fasting can become one of the most practical tools that can empower you to take back control of your own health. That's the goal we should all be striving for. So that's what I've got for you guys today. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel out. And remember, guys, that together, you and I will slay the dreaded diabetes dragon.